Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Trey, and let's talk about how the new Aquaman title is canceled. And DC was like, oh, well, we never said it was going to be a long running series. It was really a mini series because it was 6 issues, limited series. And let's talk about how Jackson Hyde, aka Calderon, aka Aqualad, aka the new Aquaman, is a damn failure. Yeah, let's get into it. So anyway, if you guys know from everything, that the all new, all different DC comic books is not working out. The whole let's make half of the damn Justice League characters LGBT, diverse, and inclusive just isn't working at all. They are straight up failures. And we've seen it with Calderon, aka Jackson Hyde, aka Aqualad. They are failures. It was a shock when they did it in Young Justice, and the only reason why they did it in Young Justice is because they did it here in the comic books, and then they did it with that stupid You Brought Me the Ocean book, which was both a failure of a thing, because most people now do not like Calderon from Young Justice because of the fact that they took something like that and they came out of nowhere and was like, oh look, he's LGBT. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work, especially when the past 2 seasons he was pining over girls, and now all of a sudden he's into guys, and people just don't like when you do stuff like that. It doesn't matter if it exists in the real world or not. When you're talking about fictional characters, people don't like when a character just flip-flop between sexualities, or when it comes to, like, either you make them quote unquote gay from the beginning but it hasn't came out yet, or you keep them whatever heterosexual. Either or. Nobody wants to, unless you kind of already made it where that character in the first time we've seen them, it has made it stated or been known to be into both boys and girls, like Constantine or Deadpool, you know what I'm saying? But now all of a sudden you got this character who was introduced as a heterosexual character in the comic books first, and even in the show, and now you made him LGBT, and you thought that was going to be a successful thing. But let's talk about the fact that Aquaman had failed. It flopped. And the reason why is because you tried to get rid of Orm, aka Arthur Curry, to be replaced with Aqualad, a character that, you skipped 2 people already, and I don't know if any of you guys remember this. If you guys remember, there were 2 candidates for Aquaman that they could have used, but they chose not to. The first one, Aqualad, Garth. Everybody knows Garth, the sorcerer, Atlantean supreme character. To be honest, he's very versatile. At first, he was a little okay as Aqualad. And then when he became an adult, he grew more. He got married to Dolphin. They had a kid, and he became very well known in Atlantean sorcery and magic. He became one of the most powerfulest Atlantean mages next to Queen Mara. And then you have Arthur Joseph Curry. Now, I don't think any of you guys remember Arthur Joseph Curry. He appeared in Aquaman, Sword of Atlantis. So, in pre-New 52, when Aquaman got killed, they needed a new Aquaman, sort of. But when the Atlanteans was in danger, they reached out and they called to Arthur Joseph Curry, who was a human mutated. He was a human who his parents kind of experimented on him to make sure that he can breathe underwater and stuff like that, giving him like powers and mimicry of Aquaman. And he had it was a prophecy about a sword, and the sword was will let you become the ruler of Atlantis. Arthur Joseph Curry, he ran to the call, he helped Atlantis out, and he became the new Aquaman and new king of Atlantis at the time. While Orm, Arthur Curry, was dead. Yes, Arthur Curry and Arthur Joseph Curry are 2 different completely characters. Yes, they do have the same name, but Arthur Joseph Curry name was given to him because his dad was named Curry. So I don't know if they were a relation, but from doing the research, he wasn't a relation. But the reason why I'm talking about these 2 characters is because these 2 characters had history and lore behind them, that if you're going to replace Aquaman, and I'm talking about King Orm, for Aquaman, you should have either used Garth or you should have used Arthur Joseph Curry, who has history with being around Atlanteans, who had a solo run, a little mini series that introduced the character or whatever. The only reason why he didn't stay long is because right after that, Blackest Night happened, and then Brightest Day, which brought back Aquaman, which Arthur went to Aquaman and was like, now that you're back, I'm going to retire from being Aquaman and being the king or whatever and stuff like that, because this is your title, this is your rightful place. I was just a placeholder. So he gave the mantle back to Arthur and retired to Sub Diego. Now, if you guys don't remember, Sub Diego was a part of San Diego that was sinking after a big old cataclysm. It was in Aquaman, I believe, and a lot of citizens from San Diego, you know, the city sunk and some chemicals happened, and a lot of the people were able to grow gills and water powers and stuff like that. And even though San Diego was built back, there is a version of San Diego underwater in the DC universe called Sub Diego, and people there have water abilities too. And I think with that kind of research, that's how his parents were able to have Arthur Joseph Curry be able for him to actually have the mimic powers of Aquaman. And of course, Garth, you know, he was Atlantean anyway, and he had Atlantean physiology and sorcery behind him. So you have these two different wily characters. Aquaman that's not really all he's more standoffish with the hero world, and he's all about protecting the underwater world. While you have Garth, who was a member of the Teen Titans, and you know worked in the Atlantean sorcery department as well, and it was former partners of Aquaman and Aquaman's adoptive son. So you see how you had two great characters right here that you could have easily had put into the role of Aquaman if you really wanted to get rid of Arthur Curry for a little bit, because everybody knew eventually Arthur was going to come back. But at least, you know, it was done in a way where it didn't come out of left field. You know what I'm saying? When Arthur Joseph Curry took over, it was because Aquaman had sacrificed himself to save Atlantis and the underwater world by being possessed by this demonic creature, which killed him in the end. And the reason why is some people weren't aware that Aquaman had died, and they called telepathic communication called out to Aquaman for help, and Arthur Joseph Curry was able to answer that call. And then, you know, people started treating him as the Aquaman, even though, you know, a lot of people knew that Aquaman was dead. But right now he proved that he was a worthy successor of Aquaman, while I believe Garth was dead at the same time too. So I believe Garth died because I think Garth died during the events of Infinite Crisis, and during the whole Spirit of Vengeance event where the Spectre attacked every magical user in the world and stuff like that. So Garth was dead, so you couldn't really get Garth. So they had to come up with they had to make a brand new character, and that was Arthur Joseph Curry, and it worked. He was successfully Aquaman from like what? I believe he was like what? I believe in 2008 all the way to 2011, really. Right after 2010, I believe. So he had about 2 to 3 years on him, because like I said, when Brightest Day came back and Aquaman had came back, that's when Arthur retired. And then after that, of course, the New 52 happened. So even if they wanted to do more with Arthur Joseph Curry, they couldn't, because the New 52 happened. And I think a lot of people forgot about Arthur Joseph Curry. But if you bring back Arthur Joseph Curry, you could have probably actually still made that work. And it would have been probably well more received than having this Aqualad who came in. Even though Aqualad was also introduced throughout the time of the Brightest Day arc, right? You never really fully developed him. And then when you did bring him back, after you only had like less than a few months with the character, you're like, oh, you know what'd be cool if we bring him back, but then he's gay because before Aqualad was reintroduced into the DC universe, that's when that book came out. You Brought Me the Ocean, and then that's when they made him LGBT. But at the same time, they already put him in Young Justice. Young Justice, he was already pining over Tula and confirming that he was a heterosexual character for most viewers. Then You Brought Me the Ocean came out. Then they decided, hey, you know what, DC Rebirth, let's bring in Calderon, but we're gonna make him gay, just straight up gay, right? And they gave him the same kind of storyline, almost like from You Brought Me the Ocean, which, you know, didn't really help his case. Even though the character's nice, but a lot of people didn't like to see Aqualad gay. They, you know, there are just characters in the world of DC that you just don't want to see it at all. I understand people want to be that diverse, inclusive, or whatever, but sometimes some of that stuff is just unnecessary to the character, especially when there are people who remember him when he was first introduced and he had a girlfriend and they were enjoying time together, and then all of a sudden you take that away and you're like, oh, now all of a sudden he's into men. Because why again? Why did you reboot him to be LGBT? Especially when you already had other original LGBT characters. You know, they could have easily brought back Bunker, but they didn't. So, again, now you did Aquaman The Becoming, where it's like, oh, we're going to show him becoming Aquaman, which, again, him going from Aqualad to Aquaman is such a jarring thing. It just was like, what the hell? You know? It wasn't like he was created to be a replacement for Aquaman himself. Like, if something took Aquaman off the board, and then, you know, this black kid was like, oh, he was swimming in the ocean and didn't realize that, then he needed to help people or whatever. So you know how that goes. Where so when you think about it, you know, if if Calderon was created like that, that probably could have worked. But then you make him Aqualad, and then he's like, what, the second sidekick of Aquaman, and then all of a sudden you're like, and he is about to be Aquaman, ignoring Garth and ignoring Arthur Joseph Curry. You know, it just doesn't make sense. And then that's why he's a failure, along with John Kent, along with Yara Floyd. I always keep telling y'all trying to create these characters while there are other characters who were created before them that has history, that has legacy behind them. If you really wanted them to be replacements for Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, you have other characters that are ahead of them. Dick Grayson, Donna Troy, you know, Garth, you know what I mean? Kyle Rayner, or John Stewart, or Guy Gardner. Y'all ain't thinking this through. Y'all keep trying to put these diverse LGBT motherfuckers up in here, and it does not work. And it did not work with Aqualad, and it didn't work with Aqualad. The Becoming, the book didn't do well. Aquaman didn't do well, and Aqualad in general is a failure of a character because they put agenda and diversity instead of actually growing the character. Because he could have been fine if they didn't focus on the fact that the man was gay. Not that I'm not saying that he did something in Teen Titans Rebirth, but his character was not all that well rounded because of the fact that they were like, hey, he's gay. And then when he finally left the Teen Titans and he finally showed up in the books, that's when they wanted to double down and focus on the fact that he was LGBT. And it's just, it's sad. It's sad, but at this point, you're going to have to get rid of the character or shelf him or reboot him back to what he should have been. The heterosexual guy that had a girlfriend, that found out he was the son of Black Manta, that became the protege of Aquaman, became the new Aqualad while learning from Garth and King Orm, aka Aquaman, how to be the new Aqualad. That's what you should have did. That's what you should have stayed with, and that should have been the character for a long time. And if you wanted to do an Aquaman spinoff book, it should have been called Aqualad. Then maybe if you did want to make him LGBT or whatever, you should have did maybe a spinoff book, like what they did with Robin, Batgirl, Supergirl, Superboy, or whatever. But no, y'all want to try to force the characters in, and it just doesn't work. And that's why Calderon is a failure of a character. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.